something quietly seductive about Honda's NT1100 DCT. In Europe, it's become one of the top-selling sport tourers in recent years, and I can see why. It trades flash for functionality and often wins based off of real-world merit. From a design standpoint, Honda is clearly playing the long game. The NT1100 won't be mistaken for a hyperbike, but it carries a sense of maturity and restraint. The styling hints at the old Silverwing scooter from certain angles, but the overall impression is purposeful, not flashy. Under the fairing is Honda's 1084cc parallel twin, the same engine from the Africa twin. It's smooth, torquey, and never feels stressed. It's not a track monster, but for touring and commuting, it's got all the punch you really need. The real star here, though, is the DCT, Honda's dual-clutch magic trick. Over the years, the system has evolved into something seriously refined. It's smooth, predictable, and thanks to the 6-axis inertial measurement unit, it's now smart enough not to shift mid-corner, most of the time. Push it hard, though, and its limitations surface. In auto mode, no matter which map you select, the bike tends to freewheel into corners with no engine braking, unless you provoke a downshift with very hard braking. The biggest issue with the DCT really is just when it comes to running in tight roads like this. You can't maintain the RPM that you want. The engine is a little too luggy because it wants to run a few gears too high. And on top of that, you come into every corner and there's no engine braking. So you come into every corner without that engine feel that you really want, and you have to rely on your brakes. And it leaves me braking a lot more than I really would want to. Even in this little uphill stretch of twisties, I'm finding myself braking into the corners more than I would if I was able to just select my gear. Now, simple solution here, pop it over into manual mode, and then you've got the paddle shifters. So now I can hold second gear through this corner. And that feels a lot better. The nice thing about manual mode is you have full control over what the engine is doing, what gear you're in. And if you happen to pull up after your little rip up the twisty road and you totally forgot that you were in manual mode and you just stopped, it's still gonna put it down into first gear for you. Now, the nice thing about manual mode too, so I'm coming up on some corners, I can just pop it into manual mode, and then I can start downshifting when I want to downshift. It's gonna hold the shift longer. And if you've ever driven a car with a paddle shifter, it behaves very similarly. It's a very smooth shift. For commuting and relaxed touring, auto mode is perfectly fine. But when the road starts to twist a little harder, manual mode is where the NT regains its character. Yes, it's an automatic motorcycle. And Honda isn't even bringing a version with a clutch, manual clutch, to the United States. So the DCT version of this bike is the only one that is available. But it's one of the top selling bikes in Europe, and believe it or not, DCT has been making up about 70% of Honda's sales. So what does that say about how good this DCT is? And it is good. One point I can't leave out is that Honda's DCT is very sensitive to service intervals. Skip or delay a service and it'll start shifting like a teenager learning to drive a stick for the first time. I've experienced this on nearly every DCT equipped bike I've ridden. You've been warned. It's got some punch in the mid-range. There's definitely a little hesitation down low, but once you pick up those RPMs a little bit, it really starts to sing. Personally, I like to ride this bike a little higher in the RPM range It gives me a little more engine braking when I'm coming into the corners. You're not going to get that from the automatic mode. It's going to want to put you in 6th gear pretty much immediately, as soon as it can. But if you can hold 3rd and 4th gear, you actually find this engine's happy spot. It likes being up around 6,000 RPM. And in automatic mode, it just doesn't let you do that. It does not hold the shift long enough for you to get to 6,000 RPM, really. At least not for an extended amount of time to really make use of that power. Okay, I want to pause just for a second to thank RoadRUNNER Motorcycle Touring and Travel Magazine for making this channel and this video possible. If you've never flipped through a copy, RoadRUNNER is all about real-world motorcycle travel. It's packed with in-depth ride stories, route maps, gear reviews, and some seriously beautiful photography. The kind that makes you want to drop everything and ride off into the sunset. You can subscribe to the print edition and get the physical magazine delivered right to your door. Or if you prefer to read on the go, a web subscription unlocks our entire digital library. Every tour, every article, every review, and all the GPS files right at your fingertips. And since you're already here, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's free and it helps keep the throttle open on more bike reviews and travel stories just like this one. The riding posture is textbook tall tourer, upright, relaxed, and balanced. The manually adjustable windscreen is a nice touch, though adjusting it at highway speeds requires some courage. This adjustable windshield is quite nice, and you can even do it while you're going down the road. And it's got quite a bit of adjustment. So the knob is right here. You just reach up, pull it out, and then you can pull it up. So that's as high as it goes. And then if you want to drop it down, just pull it out and push it down. And it drops all the way down, out of the way. So my head is completely in clean air with this windshield all the way down, which is nice. And when it's all the way up, my head is completely behind the windshield. So this is a huge range of adjustment for this windshield. And depending on the helmet you're wearing, you can fine tune it so that you don't get any buffeting at all. I noticed that this morning I started out. Now it is a little, if it's in the lowest position, it's a little finicky to get it raised back up. You kind of have to get the hang of the pull and twist either forward or backward depending on which direction you're trying to raise or lower the shield. Now I started out this morning with the shield all the way up, and today's ride I'm wearing a helmet with a peak, and I noticed quite a bit of buffeting on the helmet, and all I did was reach up, pull it out, and then just lower the shield to about there. And that was the perfect amount to direct the wind flow up and over my head without the buffeting on the peak. So that was really nice. The seat, however, is less impressive. It's got a wide, flat area here that really cups your butt if you scoot all the way back in it. But in order to do that, you need to have really long arms. Otherwise, you're not going to reach the handlebars. I'm 5'10", and when I scoot all the way back into this little cupped part of the seat here, I have to really lean forward to get to the handlebars. Now, when I scoot up just a little bit so that I can reach the handlebars, this edge here of the seat, this is what starts the cup. This edge of the seat digs into that upper thigh area, which isn't bad for the first few miles, but if you put 300 miles on the bike like I did today, you're going to come off with a really sore butt. Another option, and fellas, this one may not work out for you as well as it does for us ladies, but it's to scoot all the way up to this part of the seat, which is a little more narrow. You don't get that harsh lip digging into your thighs, and you can reach the handlebars better. The only problem there is that you're sitting in one position the whole time. You can't really move around too much on the seat because each spot hurts in a different way. So by the time you have a long day on the bike, you get off and your butt is really, really quite sore. Don't forget, when you stop the bike, it goes into neutral, so you have to set your parking brake. Packing for a trip is easy with matching hard saddlebags keyed to the ignition. Yes, a real key, not a fob. Just don't forget and leave your key in the box when you swing a leg over, or you could end up with a bent shaft. One of my pet peeves on a motorcycle is when manufacturers put all the cruise control buttons on the throttle side of the handlebar. And Honda did that on this bike. I rode this bike for about 6 hours today. Some of that was on open highway, and cruise control was fantastic for those stretches. But for the life of me, I could not get it set with just my right hand smoothly. I mean, it took, getting my hand position on the throttle right in order to be able to come down and reach those buttons. It's just not a good placement. I even found sometimes I would reach over with my left hand to set my cruise control just because it was easier to do. OEMs really need to put the cruise control buttons over on the left hand side here. That being said, there's so many buttons on the left hand side, I don't know where it would go, but surely one of the buttons over here could move. The electronics are ambitious. The 6.5-inch touchscreen uses CarPlay and Android Auto, but the menu architecture can be a labyrinth to navigate. Switching between power, traction, and braking modes is wonky. I finally settled on a favorite map and stopped fiddling. Just in case you couldn't see it on the TFT display, there is a second speedometer located directly under the first one. Why the redundancy? I can only imagine it's so you have zero excuses when the officer asks, "Do you have any idea how fast you were going?" Just to be clear, the NT1100 isn't a sport bike in disguise. It's capable, sure, but it leans more towards casual on the spectrum of sporty touring bikes. And that becomes glaringly obvious when you start paying attention to the suspension and handling dynamics. The only suspension adjustment that you have on this bike is preload on the front and rear. So no compression, no rebound adjustment, and this suspension is severely underdamped. And it really needs a little bit of adjustment there. If we're not gonna get the best components, I at least wanna be able to adjust what I have. On uneven pavement, the bike develops a bouncy, floaty quality, kinda like an old Buick that's riding on its springs alone. At higher speeds and in quick transitions, that bounce becomes more pronounced. For the first time in my life, riding this bike up Tail of the Dragon left me feeling a bit motion sick. Between the tall stance, long transitions, heavy steering, and constant suspension motion, it takes real effort to hold your line. The suspension is ultimately what lets this bike down. After 300 miles in the twisties, I came home physically spent and ready to be off a motorcycle for a few days. The NT will handle the job, but it's happiest when ridden at a more relaxed pace. Honda isn't pretending this bike is something it's not. Priced at $11,899, the NT1100 sits at the bottom of the 1000cc tall touring class, and after riding it, that price makes sense. You do sacrifice some performance and premium feel, but you get a reliable, approachable, and low-fuss machine in return. It doesn't carve corners like a Ducati Multistrada, pack the punch of a BMW S1000 XR, or fit like a Versys 1100. It's not as striking as Suzuki's GSX S1000 GX Plus either, but it's also nowhere near their price tags, some nearly double after choosing accessory packages. For riders who don't need a fancy bike or don't want to spend an arm and a leg to get something new, the NT1100 DCT offers a compelling blend of modern practicality. Yes, the lack of a manual option in the US will be a deal breaker for purists. But Honda's DCT has evolved to the point where, in everyday use, it just disappears. And that's exactly what a good automatic should do. For new riders, commuters, or anyone dipping a toe into the tall touring category, the NT1100 is an inviting place to start. It's not a bike for tearing up twisty roads with ferocity, but for covering miles and commuting with ease and simplicity. Honda has found a sweet spot here, one that makes motorcycling a little more accessible without watering down the experience.
What do you think about the NT1100? Have you ridden one yet? Let me know in the comments below what you think about this bike. If you liked this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest motorcycle touring and travel news.